Welcome to the Dome Discussions Podcast. Your top source for all things New Orleans Saints. Powered by four voices who live and breathe black and gold. Touchdown! Every hit. Every play.
Welcome to the NFL.
Every moment. We've got it covered.
Let's go! Let's go! Go!
What's going on, Who Dat Nation? Welcome back to the Dome Discussions Podcast. I'm joined by Caleb Yacarino and Drew Collins. Today we're going to be recapping the Week 7 matchup between the Chicago Bears and New Orleans Saints, where Dennis Allen did get his revenge. It was not something that we were looking forward to, but it was definitely something that we predicted, with me and Drew both picking the Bears to win that game. The Saints did come away a little banged up in that game as well. Kendre Miller tore his ACL. He'll be out for the rest of the season. It seems like all he had to do was enter the same building as Dennis Allen for him to suffer a significant injury. So that really sucks to see, as Kendre Miller was finally carving out a role in this offense. Eric McCoy tore his bicep. He will be out for the rest of the season as well. We all know the whole offense runs through Eric McCoy. And I will definitely get into that later when we talk about the possibility of Tyler Shough starting. But Eric McCoy is the centerpiece of this entire offense. He's the heart of the team. Everything runs through him on that offensive line. So that is going to be a significant loss for Spencer Rattler and the Saints, especially because Eric McCoy is currently the highest rated pass blocking center in the league with an 82.3 grade, has no sacks given up in just 3 pressures. Huge loss there. And then looking towards next week's matchup against the Bucs, Mike Evans last night against the Lions broke his clavicle and suffered a concussion. He will be out for most, if not the entire season. So that is something we will definitely be watching, with the Buccaneers already dealing with multiple injuries on the wide receiver corps, with Chris Godwin already out with an injury and Emeka Egbuka playing through a hamstring injury. So they're going to have a thin receiving corps. Anything you guys think?
Sterling Shepard's about to cook us.
Oh, 100%. You already know what's going to happen. They're going to re-sign Trey Palmer somehow, and I know he's on IR, but like they're going to re-sign him.
Magically recover. Like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's so important to talk about the Eric McCoy and Kendre Miller injuries because they mean so much with future of this team, the present of this team. I mean, I'm going to start in the future, which is a little bit of reverse, but I think it's a little bit more important in my opinion. And like, it's when Ryan Ramczyk really started getting injured, it was kind of like, it's almost like you like are learning about the mortality of him. And because he was just this franchise right tackle, and then you're now have to think about a successor. That's where my mindset is now with Eric McCoy, which sucks. It's horrible, but I've been saying it, I think, before I started writing and in the past 4 drafts that the Saints need to start drafting a center, need to start figuring out a center because the time is happening. Like, yeah, centers do last in league pretty long, but you never know. You never know with offensive linemen and getting older, like they could retire at any point. So that's kind of something that we're going to need to look at in future seasons and this offseason. And then with Kendre Miller, I mean, this is really bad because Alvin Kamara's play is starting to fall off a little bit. His utilization in the offense isn't the best in my opinion, but also his run block or his pass blocking has not been good. So also finding Alvin Kamara's successor is definitely a conversation. And I know we all think Kendre Miller could possibly be that, but once again, we're having to deal with a injured Kendre Miller season, which look, it was a torn ACL is kind of a freak accident. Basically, it's not something that you could prepare for. So I get that, but it's just very disappointing. And now the conversation of Alvin Kamara's successor also has to be talked about. But I think Drew has his successor in mind.
I'll speak on that. You want me to speak on that now or speak on that later?
Oh yeah, no, I can't. I can't out of respect, I cannot speak on it.
So I mean, obviously, losing Kendre Miller sucks, but it does give a bigger opportunity to Devin Neal. Shout out KU. I mean, if we can go, he's got the production. He's shown that he can do it. 4,343 rushing yards, 49 rushing touchdowns in college. Kansas's all-time leader in both. He's just a stud, and I think we're going to get to see it. You've seen him a little bit. Started the year inactive, scratchless. No idea why, but started that to start the year. And then last game, you haven't seen him get a lot of the rushes. I believe he got 1 carry last game. but you saw him have an amazing pass protection, a great block to save Spencer Rattler, and you can kind of see that trust growing. And I think he's just going to get a lot bigger of a role, get used in the screen game, get used between the tackles. Let Kamara just be that change of pace guy, get to the outside. We've been saying this all offseason going into the year, but I'm really excited to see Devin Neal be able to be that inside the tackles runner. And I mean, he won't break away. He doesn't have breakaway speed or anything, but he will get you the yardage that you need. He's shifty. He's strong. He's tough to bring down. And I think we're really going to see that. It's obviously awful that Kendra Miller got injured. I mean, it's seemingly a trend that he cannot break right now. It seems every year, right when he gets going, you see some glimpses, you see some great plays, and then it's just all struck down in one mighty swoop by an injury, which sucks for him because this was kind of a career-defining year for him. I mean, we'll see what happens next year for him. Now I feel like that's in question because he hasn't shown a track record to stay healthy than more than six games. So you'd like to see that improve, but I think having Devin Neal there is going to be a huge thing for the Saints. Now it's looking great that they drafted him in the 6th round. They don't have to go to someone else, but it's going to be Devin Neal time. Get ready to see him shine. If you're better, put that over line, and Devin Neal's about to go crazy.
Yeah, and I like what you said about the trust. One thing Devin Neal did say when asked about that great block in pass protection to help Spencer Rattler avoid that sack was that he'd do anything to protect his quarterback, and that's big. That shows that he's willing to throw his body on the line to help this team be a better team, and that's something that I mean, look, Kendra Miller has had a great season this year, but that's something we haven't seen from him in the past. So that is definitely something that he brings to the table. And I would like to speak on this interesting quote that Alvin Kamara actually had on Devin Neal. He said he's probably one of the smartest rookies that he's been around as far as the running back position. He processes everything. He understands everything. He understands concepts, why, when, how. So he said he's not worried about Devin Neal getting reps, even though he hasn't had a lot of playing time. Devin Neal is a guy that I've been talking about a lot more in these last couple of weeks, especially with Alvin Kamara dealing with that ankle injury. I think this might be the week that we finally see him go.
Yeah, and it feels like Devin fits this offense a little bit better than any of the running backs the Saints currently have. And that, I think one of the conversations we have had all season is how all the Kellen Moore and Brandon Staley are kind of personnel being off for their scheme. And one of the things that I knew going in, that Brandon Staley's scheme was Brandon Staley's scheme. Like he's not going to mold it for whatever players on the roster. That's not going to happen. But Kellen Moore was going to. Still, you could clearly see that like running Alvin Kamara just up the middle is not the best idea. It's not working. And another issue is that the Saints don't have the offensive linemen for that. They don't have these power offensive linemen that can just make those gaps and then it works. And then Kendra Miller kind of was good at it, but a lot of the time he would bounce out and make a play, or like he's just so shifty and like a younger running back that he could just make a play. Devin Neal can just run down the middle and get you 4 yards. I said that against the Cardinals when he was basically Josh Connor in that game. I was like, oh, he's running down the middle and just gaining yards. So I really think he fits this offense a little bit better, and I think that like that's another thing that we're going to look at going into the offseason is because the guard group is not great on the Saints, and going back to Eric McCoy, like the Saints said that they're going to they're trying out Cesar Ruiz, Torricelli Simpkins, and I think Luke Fortner for that center job for Sunday's game. So it could be a Cesar Ruiz center, Torricelli Simpkins right guard, or vice versa, or whatever new mismatch. But I think that the Saints, Trevor Penning, I really think is going to get re-signed by the Saints. I think he fits the power scheme a little bit better. I don't think Ruiz does, and I think that's an issue. And that's I could easily see this offseason. So kind of going back, this conversation of people have a lot of criticisms with Kellen Moore and talking about, and there were not great play calls in the game against the Bears. Like every 4th down call was mind-blowing how bad it was. I mean, rushing it or doing a hurry up and then running it down, trying to run it down the middle with Alvin Kamara was not a good idea. You are great on QB sneaks this season. You're doing really well with QB sneaks this season. Or just take a step back, take a breath, and do that like outside run with option with Rattler, with a running back on the outside that could possibly be a pitch option. Like something like that. And then with the other fourth down call, you do a play action pass where the defense knows what you're going to do, like that, because you can't run down the middle and you already failed at that. There were a lot of questionable calls by Kellen Moore. And again, there were a lot of good things. Like he actually called timeouts and allowed Spencer Rattler to cook for the last minute and a half of the half, which was the biggest criticism on him for the first game of the season. So I think, just for whoever's watching this and you are looking at this like critical of Kellen Moore, you have to remember this is the first year. He's dealing with personnel that really aren't his. He tried to add as much as he could. Oh, and also another criticism: why are you playing Devon Vele like 30% of the snaps? That should never happen anymore. I honestly hope one of the and we'll get to wide receiver trades later because I'm going to talk about it. But if one of the wide receivers get traded, Vele's snaps just fly, because there's no reason he should not be playing significant minutes.
Yeah, and look, that shouldn't be the case, though. It shouldn't have to take a wide receiver
100%
for Devon Vele to be involved. Look, he had just 15 snaps played on Sunday, 27% of the snaps. His only target drew a defensive pass interference. He clearly makes an impact. We talk about how his 5 catches has 3 first downs and a touchdown. I mean, he's a playmaker. You have to get him the ball. I'm genuinely not understanding why he isn't seeing the field more. Kellen Moore said they're working him into it, but that just hasn't been the case. His snaps have been relatively the same each week. So I'm not sure what's going on there. But I guess we'll transition that into another wide receiver who deserves to be praised after a hard week on him last week. Chris Olave came out with 5 receptions, 98 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's finally looking back like himself. First multi-touchdown game of his career, which is crazy to say. Olave actually spoke on the report that he's actually been in talks with the Saints on an extension, saying they've been in conversation since the beginning of the year. So it's looking like the Saints and Olave are trying to get a long-term extension done, and that the trade talks might be out of the picture. But that does turn heads to Rashid Shaheed, who has drawn interest from the Pittsburgh Steelers this season, actually a couple of weeks ago. So like you said, Caleb, Rashid Shaheed's definitely a name to watch on that trade market.
Yeah, one of the things that people are always fans of any team are including myself, are extremely reactionary, and opinions change. I mean, like I was calling for Tyler Shuck to be benched at one point in the game. I mean, that's just how games work. Sometimes emotions gets you, because I don't think that was a good idea, and I would have never done that in hindsight. But one of the things was that a lot of people have been calling for Chris Olave to be traded, including myself. I think it's a good idea. And then people stopped doing that because he had a good performance against the Bears. I saw that as his trade market just went up a little bit, because I just don't think this team is currently in a spot to re-sign Chris Olave to a large contract with this type of inconsistency. And I know, look, he might bounce back, have a great season. That would be wonderful. Like, that would be amazing. But I'm not going to rely on that. And I'm also not going to rely on his injury history. And he's fighting through injuries, clearly. Like, there's these past 2 games, I feel like he's been injured.
He's limping every time he gets up.
He's limping. So, like, I'll respect that 10. Still, the concussion history will always be an issue in the back of your head. And if someone's willing to give you a 2nd-round pick and a developmental player, a 2nd or 3rd-round pick, or even a 1st-round pick if trades get created, like if the price just rises, I'm doing that in a heartbeat. The Saints currently have 5 picks in general. Like, the Saints are going to make a trade. There's no way they don't make a trade. You can't go into this draft with 5 picks. And going back to kind of talking about Devin Neal, if Devin Neal hits, if Devin Neal is at least a starting running back, which is amazing to get, this draft is close to the 2017 draft. You have Kelvin Banks, who franchise left tackle. You have Tyler Shuck, unknown, but he's the one. Like, if Tyler Shuck becomes a starter also, this is better than the 2017 draft. I don't care. It's better because you just got a starting quarterback also. You have Danny Stutzman, who's clearly outplaying Pete Werner. There's no doubt in my mind, like, Danny Stutzman should be on the field, which we saw in the game against the Bears, where he had more tackles and less snaps. You have Quincy Riley, who already is outplaying Isaac Adam and is starting. Then you have Vernon Broughton, who in his snaps outplayed Nathan Shepard and then got injured. Like, this is a very good draft. And if you're going into next, that's just so you're looking at the whole Saints roster. What it's so I think even with the performance, it's I love seeing it from Chris Olave. It's a massive bounce back game after a bad game, in my opinion, against the Patriots. But I think it doesn't change my opinion on a potential trade.
I'll play the devil's advocate on this. I've been clear about my thoughts on a wide receiver trade. Last episode, I believe me and Nick talked about it for a while. But I'm against trading Chris Olave or Rashid Shaheed, barring an insane offer. If someone's giving us a first or a second developmental player, yeah, that's a great deal. But I don't know if I necessarily see a team giving us that for an injury-prone receiver who hasn't been able to play 10 games in a couple years. But I just think right now you're going to be studying a young quarterback no matter what. If you bench Rattler, you go slightly older, but still a rookie. And if you're going to select one in one of the next 2 years, you're not going to get any older. So I think it would be inane to trade away one of your 2 star receivers, voiding them of a weapon and just saying, go deal with it. I expect you to show something, but you're not going to have anyone to throw it to. I know the picks are nice. No one was a bigger proponent for getting picks than me. Big NFL draft guy, would love to see us get more picks. I just don't think it'd be wise to trade a bunch of your top weapons. You saw the Panthers do it with a young rookie, with Young when he was a rookie. Trade everything for him. You've seen the Bears do it with Justin Fields. I'm not saying those 2 quarterbacks are the belle of the ball, but like they were void of any weapons and really struggled in that. And I don't want to see Rattler, Tyler Shuck, or whoever the Saints may draft fall in that same trap.
Yeah, I agree with you in 2 aspects of that. I don't think it would be any beneficial for the Saints' young quarterbacks at all. I don't think it would help them develop one bit. I think it would just make it a lot harder for them. And then secondly, I don't know if the Saints are going to get a great package for either of these 2 guys. You mentioned Chris Olave, but Rashid Shaheed's 27 years old, has had 3 significant football knee injuries. Just one in the NFL, though, last season against the Falcons. But I don't know if teams are going to give up a lot for that. I mean, he's about to be 30 years old in 3 seasons. I don't know if you're giving up a second-round pick for that.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I think it's not – I think the only reason I'm okay with – like, it's for me, the Saints cannot sign Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave. Like, I just think that's
– It's got to be one.
It's got to be one. So if you stay strong and say, okay, we're going to keep Chris Olave, we're going to re-sign him to a contract. Hopefully it's not like $30 million a year, but hopefully it's a contract. Hopefully it's an affordable contract. Then they need to trade Rashid Shaheed, in my opinion, just because I don't want him just leaving. And look, if you're banking a comp pick, that's a little bit different. If you're banking on Rashid Shaheed's going to the open market and someone's going to overpay for him and you can get that comp pick, sure. If someone, I don't think anyone's giving up a 3rd round pick for Rashid Shaheed. Don't get me wrong. I think 4th is the ceiling. Or the floor. I don't know, ceiling. I think it's a 4th round pick. That's what it's going to be. I don't think anyone's giving a 3rd round pick. So if you're like, okay, you go to the open market, get re-signed by team, you get a compensatory 3rd round pick, that's fine. But that's in 2027. That's not in 2026. You kind of need picks now. So it's like, that's kind of what you have to weigh. And if Vele was also playing a lot of snaps and doing well, I'd be okay with trading Rashid Shaheed for a 4th round pick because you're just recouping the trade. But then you don't Vele either. It's kind of that, like, just annoying, weird gray area that you don't feel good about either move, which sucks. And again, I haven't said this, but the Saints should also not settle for a trade. Like, no, there are 0 players.
Mm-hmm.
There are 0. Yeah, there are 0 players on this. Not 0 players, I would say. Like, a lot of the top valued players, I would not settle for a trade. Like Pete Werner, okay, I understand that you're trying to make space for a young player. Maybe even Justin Reed. you can let Jordan Howden cook. I'm a little against Justin Reed right now, but like maybe that's an offseason move. I think the cap hit's not good anyway, so it's fine. But like Pete Werner's one of those players, or Dylan Radins, or Devon Gotcha, like one of those veterans. That's where you settle for 6th, 7th round pick. Chris Olave, you're not settling for a pick. It's not happening. Like you can't do that. So you got to go for a second round. It has to be a second round pick or better.
If you are trading your receivers, one of the things I'm normally against is just trading a player and picking one at the same position. But for this receiver class, I don't think it'd be the worst thing if you do trade a Rashid Shaheed, get a 4th round pick or something like that. If you don't want that pure speed archetype, this draft class for receivers has so many different types of receivers. You can get Ian Strong, who's just a massive contested catch receiver in that range, or you can get a slot guy. You can get a route runner. You can get so many different types. Maybe there's only 1 or 2 at the top of the board for everyone. And so the class won't be talked about that highly. But there's so many different archetypes or receivers. You can kind of pick and choose which one you want, which if the Saints do have a clear vision of what they want in their receiver room and what type of receiver they want, then I don't think it'd be the worst thing to trade Shaheed or trade someone like that and select their archetype. But I just think you need to be careful about that, and still don't know if I'd love it.
Yeah, and I'll kind of shift us into kind of some more defensive talk here since we've been talking a lot of offense. The Saints' run defense, still one of the biggest weaknesses on the roster. It's been for like 3 years now. I mean, they've got to figure it out. They allowed 222 yards on 40 attempts versus Chicago, letting both running backs log a 20-plus yard carry. But there was one positive in the run game, and that was Danny Stutzman. Danny Stutzman, I believe, had second most tackles against the run this Sunday in Chicago with 4, behind Demario Davis's 8, and his average depth at the tackle was 2.3 yards. So he is, just like we knew, outstanding against the run. Caleb talked about it. He is significantly outplaying Pete Werner. And the past couple of games, Pete Werner has seen time on the sideline while Danny Stutzman has seen time with the ones. And that's something that I believe needs to continue. I think that should be a permanent switch. Pete Werner had a 44.2 overall PFF grade with a 28.9 tackling grade against the Bears with just one missed tackle, or with just one tackle and a missed tackle on 36 defensive snaps, compared to Danny Stutzman, who had just 16 defensive snaps and 5 tackles and 2 stops. So, I mean, can we really argue who's the better player right now and that fits this scheme more? I think that's kind of like the Devon Vele situation. Why are they not out there if they're producing when they are? It's confusing to me.
The only thing I can think of why Pete Werner is still out there is to hike up his trade value. If you put him on the bench and let him play 15, 16 snaps per game, no one's going to see him. No one's going to really want to trade for him. Well, if you do play him 30-something, 40 snaps, yeah, you're still giving time for your young players to play. But you're also letting other teams see what Pete Werner is and backing up his stats a little bit, hoping to drive up the price.
Yeah, Pete Werner's the inevitable trade. Like if there was a player we had to choose, it would probably be like, okay, Pete Werner's going to be traded because there's zero reason he should still be on this team. I mean, you have Isaiah Stallbert and Danny Stutzman playing split snaps for him at times, like way more substitutions than we've normally seen with linebacker. And then this is, you said it, this is Adam and Quinn situation for me, which we know how mad I was about that. But it's like I'm watching every defensive snap. Every time the Bears ran, a tight end was on Pete Werner and he was thrown out of the play. He's pushed back and just he cannot make a play in the run, and then it's just an open lane for the running back. Danny Stutzman pushes the tight end out of the way and makes a play. There's a clear issue here, and it's affecting. Look, I think I said it maybe a while ago, but I said if Pete Werner's already bad, again, it's very close to the Quincy Riley situation. If Pete Werner's already bad in pass coverage, and Danny Stutzman's known to be not great in pass coverage coming out of college, his number one weakness, but Danny Stutzman's way better in run defense, and Pete Werner's not that great. You play the better. The pass defense cuts each other out, and then the run defense Danny Stutzman. Like, that's kind of what you're supposed to be doing. And in a rebuilding year, the start of the rebuild, you need to do that. You should not be playing Pete Werner anymore. You need to play the young players. You need to see what they have, because let's be real, at pick number 3 in the draft, I want the Saints to go with linebacker who could possibly play edge rusher, and he's just an athletic freak. Him next to, and I'm talking about Arvell Reese, him next to Stutzman would be a dream. It would be amazing. So, like, these are the things you need to start thinking about going into next draft, and you need these answers. I don't know why Pete Werner's still on. He's affecting the run defense by himself, and it's already not great. Devon Godchaux was not. It was a 7th round trade, so I'm not gonna be mad with the Saints. I understand the reasoning, but you're wasting a Brian Brzee playing better run defense here. Like, Brian Brezee's playing better run defense. It's being clear. Like, yeah, I don't know his grades or anything like that, but it's clear that he's making more plays against the run. He's not a black hole that you can just run through and that's it. So you're kind of wasting that. And then is it an edge rusher issue also? Does it have to, because one of the things 3-4D linebackers to be good at runs, it's stopping the run with 3 rushers. They can. And you also need a good nose tackle. The Saints are currently missing linebackers. I'm just talking about Werner, and Devon Godchaux is not that great of a nose tackle. So they're missing all the things you need. It goes back to a personnel issue also.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like 2 of the things you said. The Saints do definitely need to embrace that youth movement in the linebacker room, just like they did in the secondary. The Saints have 4 interceptions this season. 2 by Kool-Aid McKinstry, who's 23 years old. 1 by Jonas Sanker, who's 22 years old. And 1 by Quincy Riley on Sunday, who's 24 years old. It is very much like the Isaac Yonum Quincy Riley situation. And we saw what happened when Quincy Riley was taken over for Isaac Yonum. Had a touchdown-saving tackle and his first interception on Sunday against the Bears. He's looking like he's gaining confidence by the week and has become a really solid starter for this team. But I also would like to note the edge help that you were talking about, the edge rushers. Chase Young was outstanding once again on Sunday. He only had 1 sack, didn't have a sack his first game back, but he has clearly made an impact since his return. His burst and get off this game was insane. You saw him in the first quarter have 2 PBUs. 1 almost a pick 6, which is just outstanding for an edge rusher of his size. And he had that near pick 6. You just don't see that from a defensive end like that. I would like to check his grades real quick because Chase Young led the defensive team in grades at 86.1 grade, had 5 total pressures and 1 sack. He's clearly just an impact player. As soon as he steps on the field, this defensive line plays so much better. He makes an impact. He helped that secondary. Like you saw, Quincy Riley got that interception because Caleb Williams was pressured. That's what happens when you have Carl Granderson and Chase Young opposite one another. We saw Cam Jordan start opposite of Chase Young, but Carl Granderson finished opposite of Chase Young, and that's what I would like to see for the rest of the season.
I love what you said about how much they're helping the secondary. The secondary outside of Justin Reed is so young. I believe the oldest is 26 years old. Outside of Justin Reed, who plays meaningful snaps, I'm not counting Isaac Yiadom because he's injured. But just giving them less time to have to cover is paramount to their success. I mean, Chase Young, you saw in one play where he timed the snap count perfectly and jumped right at the start. Like, a tackle can't defend that. That is going to help your secondary, and you saw it. The secondary wasn't the problem against the Bears. They honestly played pretty well. Maybe there's 1 or 2 plays that you'd like to take back, but overall, I think you can say that they had a good game. It was a run defense that kind of sold, but I mean, the passers, Chase Young, Carl Granderson, all that. I do think one of them will be traded, so that'll hurt, but you've seen what they can do and how much impactful they are for the secondary. I think that's a position that they must address this offseason because I don't see them going and signing a big cornerback free agent or a big safety free agent right now. So you're going to need to bolster that pass rush, but you've already seen it with Chase Young getting returning.
Yeah, and after that near pick 6, forced a false start on the Bears left tackle. I mean, he is just it's a clear impact when he is out there. But I did want to touch on something else. The streak is finally over. The Bears went 3 and out, and this is the first time since week 2 that the Saints have not given up an opening drive touchdown. There was clear slippery conditions. There were 3 fumbles on the first drive, 3 drives of the game across 2 teams. But still, I think this is a building point for the Saints. We talked about it last week, me and Drew. The Saints had gone 4 weeks, I believe 5 weeks after the Patriots game, allowing 2 touchdowns for their opponent's opening drive. That can't happen if you can't play from behind all season long. Justin Reed mentioned it last week, saying that was one of the biggest things the defense was focusing on, and that was clear. It showed up on Sunday.
Are we counting the play as a fumble when Drew Dahlman just held on to the ball?
Oh, you mean running back Drew Dahlman? Yeah, no.
Are we counting that as a fumble, or what are we counting that as? Because I don't even know what it's called.
As he knew that ball was about to fall out of his hand and he held it. But I don't. That was a fumble. Oh God. Yeah, I just wanted to go back to the edge rushers because I think talking about trades a lot, but look, we're getting close to the trade deadline, and this is a 1-6 team, 1-5. Like we need to talk about trades. Yeah, Carl Granderson is one of those other players, and I know I was debating with Kyle in one of our DMs that because he was saying how we should keep Carl Granderson. If the edge rush is bad, why not keep Carl Granderson? But my thing was, but it's not but he's one of the issues. You see the difference with Carl Granderson and Chase Young. They're if you have ever I think Chase Young has more pressures than any other edge rusher in I think he might have gotten in one game more than the other edge rushers, or now he has the most edge rushers by a mile. There is a clear skill difference, and it's not even a skill difference. There's a clear even edge rush just needing to get any pressure and not getting stonewalled. And it really emphasizes the issue of edge rusher going into the offseason, because I'm not going to lie. I don't think the Saints are going to find their number 2 edge rusher in free agency. I don't think they're going to make a trade. They might make a trade, including a edge rusher and a pick from the other team that might be a developmental player, and see what you have, which I would love. I would love that, because the Saints' depth is also bad there. But Carl Granderson is kind of not doing much. I love him in run defense at times. I really think he works hard in run defense. I think he's really good cleaning up sacks. But it's a clear issue when the quarterback gets out of the pocket. He's not getting any pressure. If a team wants to give you a 3rd round pick or 4th, I don't know if I'm doing a 4th round pick, because I think a team can see potential with Carl Granderson. I think a team can see potential with him, but I don't think I'm doing it for a 4th round pick. I think that will go into the category of just is it necessary? But I would definitely possibly trade him. I just think it's just an issue right now. It's been an issue all year. It's why I think the Saints just go with edge rusher early in the draft.
I was hesitant about a receiver trade, but I really think the Saints should trade Granderson. And you were saying they might be able to get a 3rd round pick. I think they could get something higher. I think a team, especially a competing team, is going to be desperate for any
Eagles or 49ers.
49ers. Yeah, that's a perfect one. They lost Nick Bosa. They need an edge rusher, and they are still a competing team somehow with Mac Jones.
Just give them Pete Werner and Carl Granderson. Do a combined trade.
Yeah, give them 2 impactful players. I think you're getting something good for that. I do think, that's really going to hurt losing Granderson. Great locker room player, works super hard, impactful on the field. But I think there is a certain point where, you're going to get some good value out of that, and you need to take it. You're definitely going to see a hit this year, but could be worth it in the future.
I have a question.
Yeah, and I want to touch on what you were saying, Caleb. You were wondering Chase Young's pressures already through 2 games. Chase Young is already tied third on the team with 8 pressures in just 2 games. Carl Granderson has 12. Nathan Shepard has 12. Cameron Jordan has 16, and Brian Brzee has 16.
Shout out Nathan Shepard.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow. Okay, Nathan.
Chase Young has an 89.8 defensive grade right now. He is just playing outstanding. This is the guy that we wanted to see after signing that 3-year extension. If he can continue playing like this, the sack numbers will come, and this defensive line will be a whole lot better. But we do have to wrap up soon, so I do want to talk about 2 more players that did struggle on Sunday, and that's Jawan Johnson. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm fed up with Jawan Johnson.
It's bad.
I'm very fed up with Jawan Johnson. There was a point in the game, the Saints are down 20, and he didn't even get the first down, and he's flexing on the Bears sideline. Like, that is not what we do. That's not Saints football. Come on, man. And there was even one point in the game where the Fox broadcast was like, "What is Jawan Johnson doing?" He's just not. It doesn't seem like he's there, like there mentally. He's not locked in with the team. I really need to see a bounce back game from Jawan Johnson. I believe he's top in the league in drops for tight ends as well. This is not why the Saints extended you this offseason, unlike Chase Young. You have to step it up. There's guys like Foster Moreau back there. There's guys, Taysom Hill even, I'd throw out there at this point. There's guys that are out there willing to throw their body on the line to make plays, and they're not all doing it for show, and that's what it looks like Jawan Johnson's doing right now. And then Blake Grupe, get him off the field, man. Get him off the field. He is severely hurting this team at this point. Missed a wide right on a 53-yard field goal against the Bears. You saw Kellen Moore exchanging words with Phil Galliano after that as well. Maybe that's a sign that we finally get to see Charlie Smith, because Blake Grupe's 70% field goal percentage ranks 33rd in the NFL, and there's 32 teams in the league. So come on, like, when is it enough with these two guys?
Nick,
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't think your groupie all-pro season prediction at the start of the year
It was
gonna come
not.
true.
It never came to fruition, ever.
Maybe,
You
but I
Kyle,
don't think so.
never give predictions again. Bad. Yeah, no, Blake Grupe, I don't like. You just need to see what you have with Charlie Smith, or just sign a veteran. Just sign any veteran off the street. It's going to be better. Like, and even if it's not better, at least it's an excuse because he's new. Like, and then with Jawan Johnson, that you already saw. Like, I think the coaching staff is kind of in agreement with you, because look, that Spencer Rattler's probably, like, besides Chris Olave, number one target. When it was, and by the way, that play that the announcers were mad on, it was like the worst block.
The whiff block? Yeah,
it was the worst block attempt I've ever seen,
effort.
and it resulted in a sack and resulted in Spencer
The
Rattler
Jaquan
also getting
Brisker sack.
killed. Like, it was bad, and Alvin Kamara had horrible. That might have been worse. Now, that was bad. I think the coaching staff's in agreement with you, because when it really felt like Foster Moreau more knocking down. They were in a lot more, and okay, now.
Not yet.
Yeah. Here, I can make a quick point while you're trying to get that back. But yeah, Blake Grupe's been bad, but we could have it worse. The Giants' backup kicker, Jude McAtney, could be worse, missing 2 extra points. So yeah, we've got it bad, but at least he's not missing a bunch of extra points. We may not be scoring enough touchdowns to see him missing extra points, but so far he's not been bad on that spot.
You're good now, Caleb.
Okay. I was just going to say that the coaching staff clearly sees the issue. Jawan Johnson they started playing Foster Moreau and Jack Stoll in the second half way more. Yep. They were in on blocking downs. Like, they clearly see it. Do I think Jawan Johnson's going to get traded? I wish. No, his contract's too bad. You can't do that. The cap hit's too bad. Unless you're willing to take the cap hit and you're just not going to sign any free agents, that's fine, which we've seen this team kind of do it. So I'm okay with that. But it's an issue now. It's really bad.
I mean, there's a reason the Saints are 1-6, and that's because they're playing players that are severely hurting the team when they have guys that they should be playing, and young ones at that they should be playing over these guys. Look, I'd even argue Maliki Matavao on the practice squad should be playing over Jawan Johnson at this point.
Why not?
See what you've got in somebody at this point. I mean, he's just hurting you. He's not catching balls that he should be catching. Put Charlie Smith in. He's got a cannon of a leg. You've been developing him for a year and a half now. See what you've got in him. And then Pete Werner, you've got Danny Stutzman, one of the studs of the draft. Go ahead and put him out there. I don't see why these guys are still on the field, especially if they're hurting the team. That's what 1-6 teams do, I guess. But I think we'll end that there. I think, is that all? You guys got anything else to add?
Bring our rivalries to New Orleans.
There we go. Well, all right, everybody. We will see you guys on Thursday for our preview episode of Saints versus Buccaneers. They have a pretty thin wide receiver court with Mike Evans going down, so that'll definitely be something to watch. We'll see you guys next time.